Hey guys, how's it going? Nothing like some early game big boy damage, am I right? I hope you all are having the best time in the world with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, Xenoblade is one of my favorite series ever, and the combat system has a lot to do with it. Now, Xenoblade combat is very deep, but some parts of it are simplistic and it seems a lot more convoluted than it actually is. And to me, that has to do with the game playing very differently than standard JRPGs or action games. Now, this beginner guide, I hope, can give you a bunch of little tips to basically make your team more overpowered by Chapter 4, or just in general, smooth through the game a lot easier. You're gonna have a better understanding of the combat after this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. Now, after this video, you should have a basic understanding of your class roles, how to build your team a bit easier, and good exploring tips to basically keep your XP in the bank and just keep stacking your team as you go along. Let's start out with the combat section, and then we'll go into exploring and then team building. So for combat, you have to stand still to start auto-attacking. That is number one. For half of your team, Mio, Senna, and Taion, they're the Agnes soldiers, so their arts recharge by smacking the enemies with your auto attack. So find a good position, preferably if you could buff up your team for back attacks or anything in that regard. You want to place those characters behind the enemy so they're getting more damage and they can charge up their arts. Now for the other side, the Kaves soldiers, Noah, Lance, and Uni, theirs just recharge like Xenoblade 1, where your arts just are on a cooldown timer. So for them, you can move around a lot. Now, the next very important thing is art canceling. Now, for art canceling, you have to click your art right as your weapon touches the enemy. So basically, right when your auto attack connects to the enemy, click the button. That's when you want to use your arts, and the little circular ring will ding to show that you've got a perfect cancel. That's going to give you a number of benefits, like a little bit more damage, and as well as charging your arts even faster for the Agnes side of your team. You then have another important ability called your talent art. This is the little one to the right and requires charging up. You can think of it as almost like a super move. Now, to charge that, you have to do your character roles correctly. There's a tank role, an attacker role, and a healer role. Your attacker is about maximizing damage. So a lot of their arts are going to be like side attack, back attack. You have to be placed in a certain spot to do more damage. The arrow above your arts will also show you the position you're in case the animations on screen are too hectic and you can't really see exactly where you're standing. Now, once you start doing your roles correctly, as in for tanks, they're getting aggro at them, so the enemies are focused on them, not your attackers or your healers. For your healers, if they're placing down circular rings around the teammates, like attack ups, defense ups, if they place them on your teammates, that's going to up their gauge to give them their talent art. And for the attacker, you need to be doing your positions correctly to maximize damage. So if it says back attack up, make sure you hit the enemy in the booty. Now for early game, and generally the whole game, you want to combo stuff together, basically strategize in your mind as the fight is going on. So when I get my overclock buster with Noah, which is his talent art, it says more damage to dazed. Now, how do we get an enemy dazed? Well, first you need to break an enemy. Now, breaking is the first step to any combo in Xenoblade. Now, for Noah, it wants me to be on the side of the enemy to break them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now there's a timer. In this set amount of time, one of your teammates needs to topple the enemy. If they use a move with topple, as long as the accuracy hits the enemy, if that timer is still going for the break ailment, it will topple them, knock the enemy on the ground. And from there, you can continue to do more stuff, like daze the enemy, which will make them dizzy and can't act. Launch the enemy, which will send them into the air and allow you to do other moves like smash, which will send them into the ground with mega damage. And basically, you want to plan this out as you're fighting and hopefully get all these things completed, and your damage will continue to stack. please read the descriptions of your arts. They are basically going to tell you right then and there what they want you to do. And you need to take that very literally, because a lot of people will see back attack, side attack, and they'll just do their arts out of nowhere. You need to be in the correct positions. You need to be aware of the time the arts are recharging so you could use them at the right time. Because, for example, let's say I'm one smack away from getting my talent art and the enemy is about to be dazed. I want that overclock buster, right? Now, if I plan the fight out correctly, my back attack is about to recharge. So I could do that back attack right into the talent art, because the talent art lets you use it after any art. So if you time stuff correctly in battle and really think ahead and strategize, you could turn the tides in your favor. Now, those are the super basics down, but make sure to keep doing that stuff throughout the game. Soon you're going to unlock a lot more mechanics, like fusion arts. Fusion arts are where you can combine two arts, and you can basically choose which ones you want in your menu. And if you hold the RZ button and you use one of them when they're both charged, you're going to get the damage of both of them, the effects of both of them, and it's only going to do one animation, the one animation of the main art that you clicked. Now, this is very important for a lot of reasons. It lets you chain the arts into each other, so you could use them back to back to back to bring out damage quicker. They also level up your interlink right there in the bottom left, which is another big type of super move mechanic that they let you utilize in this game. So fusion arts are very important, and once again, timing. Do you want to use one of the arts right now, or do you want to wait until they're both charged so you can use them together for a fusion and get those benefits? It's a lot of planning ahead when you're in battle, and fusion arts are really, really useful. So most of the time, I like to let them charge, and I also like to pick arts that have the same type of timer, so I don't pick an art that takes 50 seconds to recharge, but then the other art only takes 4 swings to get. You know what I mean? You want to kind of get your arts up and running at the same time, because they will recharge differently. You got half the team on a cooldown timer and the other half where auto attacking recharges theirs. So for that side, they're already going to have gems and stuff that make their auto attacks quicker, possibly auto attack twice. You know, you got to think about all this stuff and really think of the symmetry of your team build before going into the fight. Are these arts going to be cooling down at the same time? Are you going to be able to use them at the right times? A lot of stuff like that. A couple other little tips before I go on to the exploring section to make your team a lot stronger. You can dodge roll with the right stick if you click it down. This is very helpful for getting into positions a lot quicker and just makes combat more fast-paced. In Xenoblade 3, the healer class is the only ones that can revive. No more party meter and reviving, so you need to keep your healers alive and aggro off of them. Whenever you are building a team or looking for class roles, you can see the roles by the little symbol by each of their faces. The green one will always be tank, the red one for attacker, and the blue one for tank. So when picking gems or accessories, it'll have that symbol next to it to show it's better for that class. So exploring is huge in this game if you want your team to be overpowered by around chapter 3 or 4. Around chapter 3, you're going to open up hero quests. Now, these are classes that are going to join your team, and these classes you could rotate with all your characters. Trying new classes unlocks you skills and a plethora of other things. You want to level up a bunch of different classes, try them all out and see which playstyle you find fun, test out the damage numbers and see which classes are doing the best, things like that. Now, these question marks are going to be big yellow ones on your map. Now, the reason I'm pointing these out is a lot of these become available around chapter 3. You can get these done and give yourself around 4 to 5 new weapon classes before moving on with the story. So I honestly recommend getting some side stuff done if you want your team to be pretty built, because you're going to have more classes, which in return gives you more skills and stuff like that. So go get some of that done before you go right on to the main story. Finding treasure chests and things like this across the map are going to give you a plethora of items for gem crafting and many other things like that. Grab all the shiny items. I'm telling you, all the shinies. This game also gives you XP and SP for finding a new area, so exploring really helps in that regard. While you're exploring the map too, you're going to see these little skirmishes where you can accept them and help out one of the sides. They sometimes drop Nopon coins, and the silver ones are able to level up your classes instantly, as long as you have enough of them. This helps a lot with speeding up class leveling and getting your skills unlocked way earlier. Now, doing all these hero quests, skirmishes, and all these things around the map is going to give you bonus XP. Just like Xenoblade 2, if you play that game, whenever you go to a campsite and rest, you can use this bonus XP to grab a bunch of levels. Doing all this stuff without even knowing, you're going to end up going to a camp and having 3 level ups or something in that regard. Please do some exploring in the middle of chapters if you want to have a smooth time going through the story and not really having any trouble on the bosses. One final thing on the exploring side I want to mention is I'm sure you guys have seen the unique monsters with the orange symbol above their head and the blue symbol above their head. Both of these are going to play unique battle themes and give you extra XP as well as money. Now the thing is, the orange ones are way harder than the blue ones, but the blue ones still give you a bunch of extra XP and other goodies. So in my opinion, go for a lot of the blue unique enemies, like almost all of them that you see that you're walking past. And then for the orange ones, make sure they're like 1 level above you or 1 level below you or equal to you. Don't go too far off. If they're like 2-3 levels above you, you could maybe beat him if he's blue, but the orange ones are pretty damn hard. So focus on the blue ones. You'll also see enemies with this little sparkle around their name. These guys drop a bunch of rare items, which could be very useful for cooking and gem crafting. Now, building classes is very important. Make sure you're swapping all your party members through new classes to level them up and get skills. But one of the things I want you to keep in mind is make sure you have some of the standard combos you've already learned. What I mean by that is if you switch a bunch of classes, make sure some of them still have topple and break so you can get your combos going again. Read their talent arts to see what they do, and if they're like a launch is going to give them more damage, then try to put in a launch combo, a break, topple, launch through your party when you go into a battle, and stuff like that. And other ways like HP is for a tank, but sometimes your attacker could use an HP gem if they're too weak. So you gotta mix and match with a lot of this stuff, and you could also just use the symbols, put that on your team until you level them up and go back to the OG classes that you already were doing good with. Basically, once you go in the battle, you'll be able to see if your team is built correctly. If you're dying and your damage numbers went lower, you need to swap some stuff around. Another point I'd like to mention is there is character swapping mid-battle now in this game. So I would have 2 to 3 characters you main, so you could even do an attacker, tank, and healer that you have built to your knowledge. You have knowledge of what arts they have in, so if you swap to them, you'll be able to use them decently. Not amazingly, but just so you know 3 characters enough to where you could swap different roles at any time. Make sure they're built decently. And if by all means you could use the Y button and have the game build them yourself, or I'm sorry, how the game does it. But when you do that, you take away your player knowledge, and that is going to be stronger than anything. Once you gain some combat experience, it's much better for you to go in and edit your classes than just having the game auto-select it for you. I really hope some of these tips help out some beginner players or just early mid-game team builds so you guys can have a lot more stable experience, which then leads to a much more fun combat experience. Please leave extra tips in the comments that I may have missed or tips on how to make my videos even better. I appreciate you guys. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I really hope you guys have the best day.